Landslide hazards are a reality in Alaska and can drastically affect our communities and loved ones. You might be hiking, boating, or even flying in an airplane and observe changes to our landscape. Valissa Higman was exploring Prince William Sound through an artist residency when she observed such a change.
We went into Barry Arm very briefly, and I looked at it again and I was like, there's this really steep slope, there's a retreating glacier. I had been to a presentation by my brother, who is a tsunami hazards geologist. He had talked about horizontal lines across the slope and what that can mean as far as moving landscapes. All these cruise ships come in there. You've got kayakers, you've got jet skiers, you've got fishermen, you've got all sorts of people recreating on the water right there in Barry Arm. Well, what if that slope went? It would affect all of these people. And so I quickly snapped a picture. I was like, oh, I'll give this to my brother when I get home.
Valissa's report sparked a chain reaction, leading to the involvement of scientists and government agencies.
This message got relayed up to the USGS and then eventually got relayed up to the Department of Interior. So in 2021, in January, the National Landslide Preparedness Act was implemented. And what that did was that authorized USGS to partner up with federal and state agencies to run a landslide hazards program.
The Barry Arm landslide is a great example of communities and scientific organizations coming together for public safety. There's a robust monitoring system in place now because of that. And the big takeaway is that it was discovered by someone recreating in the area.
Valissa's story highlights the crucial role of citizen science in landslide awareness. But what signs should we look out for?
Common indicators and signs that people should be aware of include structural damage to house foundations and roads, cracking floors, broken water lines, leaning trees, fences, or telephone poles, wet, saturated ground that isn't typically wet, new cracks or bulges in the ground, rapid increases in creek water that becomes muddy, and visible soil and bedrock scarps.
When one natural force stirs, others will often follow in its wake. Landslides are closely linked to other natural hazards, such as earthquakes and tsunamis.
In Alaska, we have the potential for magnitude 9 or greater earthquakes. So in a big event, we may have thousands of landslides. Those landslides may clog culverts, they may cover roads, they may dam rivers. And so reporting those types of landslides is crucial to community perseverance.
The citizens play a huge role in helping us to understand the local hazard issues in their community. There's no way that any one agency or group can understand what a citizen sees in their day-to-day life. If you know that there's a slide behind your house, report that and make sure an agency understands that you see this hazard. The hazard is changing, and we get it on a map, and maybe we can start to study it.
With each passing season, shifts in our environment bring new challenges. As our environment changes, the risk of landslides increases.
In high mountain regions around the world, glacier retreat and permafrost thaw is having an impact on slope stability. Permafrost is a binding agent in the soils and rock. And in the Arctic in particular, there has been a period of stability with frozen ground. As climate has changed and permafrost has thawed, these places which were predictable and stable are no longer seen as predictable and stable. In more extreme terrain, it's causing landslides, and landslides that can have deadly consequences.
Since 2015, landslides have claimed at least 12 lives and destroyed numerous homes across Alaska. Recognizing these threats is the first step. But how are scientific organizations and agencies working to monitor and mitigate these hazards?
We have several tools that we use. Of critical importance is that of the ground-based radar system. What this allows us to do is to very precisely measure the rate of deformation of different parts of the landslide. And from that, we can ascertain how quickly different parts of the landslide is moving. And most importantly, when the landslide is accelerating. The Barry Arm landslide it's a slow-moving landslide, but it's not that slow movement we're worried about. It's that rapid acceleration that could be a precursor to broader failure. We have a number of tools we can use to discover landslides out in the landscape, but there's nothing that beats eyes or boots on the ground.
Instruments like radar, LiDAR, seismometers, and infrasound sensors help scientists assess the risks and predict potential landslides. But they can't be everywhere at once. That's where citizen reports come in. And now, there's a tool that puts the power of citizen science right at your fingertips.
At the time when I made the observation in Barry Arm, I was lucky that I had a brother that was a geologist. I think if I did not have that person, there's a good chance I wouldn't have told anybody. But now people have this great resource, the Alaska Landslide Reporter, in which you can take a photo if you see something, and the state of Alaska can see that and add it to their inventory of possible landslides.
One of the big programs we have going on right now is what we call the Alaska Landslide Inventory. And what that is an inventory of all the landslides that have been previously mapped and that are going to be mapped in the future with our Alaska Landslide Reporter app that we're providing to the public. This is information that we can feed into this Alaska Landslide Inventory database.
Landslide inventories are really a foundational data set for us to better understand the hazard across the landscape and to reduce people's risk. If we know where they happened, if we know when they happened, we may be able to alert the public of those conditions in advance of the landslide happening.
By reporting what you see, you contribute to building a vital inventory that informs research, preparedness, and mitigation efforts.
Scientific research needs to be accurate, but it also needs to be interpreted without any bias or agenda in order for the public, policymakers, and the scientific community to work together in a relationship of trust.
Building resilience to climate-induced landslides requires good science and good communication. Through these key agency partnerships and partnerships with communities and boroughs and individuals, we're trying to expand on the science that we have, involve them in the process through a co-production of the science, and then make sure that through that, they understand how the landscape is changing and how it might be impacting them.
Living in Alaska is a beautiful experience, but with beauty comes risk every single day. Whether we're out on the water, we're climbing the mountain, we're walking by a stream, we're surrounded by danger, and we accept a lot of that danger just as a cost of living in Alaska. However, that doesn't mean we can't do something about it. Simply paying attention to your surroundings, especially if your surroundings are changing, react to that, report that information, and make that information useful as a citizen scientist.
Science isn't limited to the PhDs. We all engage in citizen science every time we observe changes in our natural environment. But we can bring those changes to experts who conduct essential risk assessments.
As Alaskans, we have a very close relationship with our natural surroundings, and it's important to remember that we are a good resource. If we see something that we think is a hazard, or if we see something that we just don't understand, we can report this and get that information to somebody who can do something about it.
Learning what developing landslide hazards look like and how they are caused empowers you to take part in discovery. Your collaboration, coupled with the efforts of local government, provides the scientific community with increased opportunities to identify geologic hazards before they become disasters. When individuals, local governments, and scientists combine efforts, we reduce risk and create more resilient communities. Together, we can help keep Alaskans safe.